Hello, and welcome back to the Accounting Podcast, your weekly roundup of news in the accounting profession. I'm Blake Oliver.
I'm David Leary.
And we are joined today by Alicia Katz Pollock, Queen of QuickBooks at Royal Wise and host of the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants Podcast. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We are really looking forward to talking with you about Intuit Connect, where we all just were this past week in Las Vegas, learning about all the developments, all the news from Intuit, and all the product updates about QuickBooks. I understand you took copious notes.
I came back with 42 pages of notes from all the things that I did.
All right, so it's going to be an episode dedicated to QuickBooks and Intuit, which I think is worth doing. It's worth dedicating an episode to QuickBooks because it's so important to all the small business accountants out there. And there's like some major changes this year. I mean, like we've got this new Accountant Suite coming out that's going to be replacing QuickBooks Online Accountant. Like that's a big deal. We've got like this, QuickBooks moving to becoming this all-in-one platform, like an ERP. It's giving me NetSuite vibes or Sage Intacct vibes. I guess let's start.
AI
What's that, David?
A lot of AI.
AI everywhere. Yes, Sasan's keynote, all about AI. And so we're going to dig into all of that. Alicia, you're going to share all the key updates for us.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about the vibe, like the feel of Intuit Connect, because it's changed a lot in the last few years since they renamed it. So, like Alicia, how would you describe like the feel of Intuit Connect this year?
It was really different. I mean, I've gone to every single from when it was QuickBooks Connect all the way now to Intuit Connect. And it used to be a celebration of all things about QuickBooks specifically. And then it became upscaling the pro advisors, moving us from data entry to advisory, and now with the lean in on Intuit Enterprise Suite and moving into mid-market, it was very, very clear that they were targeting the conference at a whole new audience. I met tons of first-time attendees who were all employees at firms, and the family reunion of 500 of my best friends and the relationships that have developed over the last 15 years, there were only a few dozen of us. So it was really different.
And not a lot of independent pro advisors, right?
Not a lot at all.
Yeah.
And I think the vibe, if I go back to the old QuickBooks Connect, it was always a celebration of accountants, bookkeepers, and small businesses. They would put up a list of every pro advisor that's been a pro advisor for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. It was a celebration. There was a Pro Advisor of the Year award, right? It was a celebration. And now it's like it flipped from being about you, the attendees, to being about us, Intuit. And you just get the chills because you're like, I love all these people. These are people I know, and they're being recognized for all the hard work they've done. And now it's like all about Intuit, and you didn't get the warm and fuzzies that you've had previous years.
Yeah, no, they used to treat us like kings. They used to, it was, swag and development and excitement and enthusiasm. And this was much more about professional upskilling, like a normal conference.
You mean when you're leaving, if they have pom-poms as you leave the event, that doesn't do it? That's not pushing enough love to pro advisors.
It was a drum corps this year.
Drum corps and yeah.
Well, let's start the discussion with Sasan's keynote, which was all about AI. Very, very forward-looking, some kind of out there stuff. Alicia, what stood out to you?
Well, the things that stood out was his very first statement that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And it's really clear that, he said that 7 years ago, they bet the farm on AI. So the whole platform is moving to AI. There's a really strong emphasis on ROI based on consolidation, turning QuickBooks into an all-in-one platform so that you didn't have data siloed off in different apps and you didn't have to move data from place to place in order to use it.
So like, what does that actually look like, the all-in-one platform? I mean, I remember last year or the year before hearing about the acquisition of MailChimp, CRM features, right? The marketing features now in QuickBooks for small businesses. Is that what we're talking about, or is there more?
That's a perfect example of it, that in QuickBooks itself, there's a new customers hub We have an episode of it about it in the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants podcast called the Customer Hubba Hubba. So you can go check that one out. But they're using MailChimp and CRM tools right inside QBO, which is actually really cool because it's way more cost effective to remarket to your existing clients than it is for new client acquisition. And the new tools, for example, send a survey and then ask, when do you want us to book our next appointment together? So that they say, oh yeah, call me in 3 months, and make referrals and recommendations, and give you feedback and reviews that you can use for marketing. And so there's a lot of really cool things happening in that realm. And that's just one example of how it's being consolidated.
And I think a point of view of the vibe was, we're going to have AI and it's just going to do stuff for you. So now you don't have to get these other apps. You're going to pay more for Intuit Enterprise or QuickBooks in general. You're going to pay more, but you'll actually, quote unquote, spend less because you'll need to buy less apps, which was a weird vibe considering you have, 75, 80 vendors that are third-party apps that tie into QuickBooks paying to be there. Like this mindset of we don't need apps anymore is kind of an interesting point of view. And he basically said it. He literally, quote unquote, you'll pay less because you'll need to pay for less apps. He literally said that.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about that, David? You spent a big chunk of your career at Intuit building up the QuickBooks Marketplace, the app marketplace, those 600 apps that integrate or more that integrate with QuickBooks. And I don't know, for me, it's kind of sad to see Intuit moving away from that, because that ecosystem was what powered all of these small firms that, like mine, that piece together these apps to build a system for helping small businesses manage their money. And I don't like the idea of it all becoming all in one, because I know what happens when an app tries to do everything. It does everything, but it does it in kind of a mediocre way.
It's like a multifunction printer, right? You've got the printer that copies and faxes and prints, but you're not going to be able to put out a poster that you can put up on the wall. And so I kind of see QuickBooks that same way, that it'll do a little bit of everything. And depending where you are on your journey and depending on what your role is, it may do exactly what you need it to do. But when you really, really need a robust solution, we still need those.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it's like what's best for the customer in the end. I mean, it might help Intuit raise their prices and make more money, but is this really what a small business owner wants? Do they want to be paying hundreds of dollars a month for QuickBooks to have everything all in one place?
The reason they chose QuickBooks to begin with is because it's way cheaper than the alternatives, than the enterprise space. To jump to Sage Intacct or to jump up to Oracle NetSuite, you're spending $40, $50, $60, $100,000. And it's just it's just such a gap for small businesses to do that.
And I wonder if this is a potentially enormous strategic mistake for Intuit, because, and here's why. And Alicia, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Intuit is one of the only companies, large public companies that has become multi-billion-dollar company serving exclusively small businesses. There are not many software providers, developers that do this. And Intuit has always just owned that market, and they've done really well. They've served that market really well. And so, for instance, when Xero tried to come to the United States and break in, Intuit successfully defended against that and continues to have something like 80% or more of the market. This push up market, while it might increase revenue, I feel like it has the potential to leave Intuit's flank exposed when it comes to small businesses and create an opportunity for a QuickBooks replacement to enter the market. I mean, we see these AI powered GLs like Digits, pushing forward. Do you think that Intuit could lose its hold on small businesses as it tries to go after the mid-market?
Well, one of the things that I've been the analogy that I've been using, that I've been long talking about, is the fact that Intuit has gone from a table with a single post in the middle of QuickBooks, that they've diversified it out. TurboTax, MailChimp, Credit Karma. So now it's a table with 4 legs. But the QuickBooks leg was exactly as you said, built on the small businesses, both the small businesses that are running their business, running their company on the software, and all of the bookkeepers supporting them. And now that they're moving up market, the table leg, if the table leg gets wobbly, if that table leg collapses, the table's going to fall over. And so I am really worried about that. And it was interesting to me to hear how they were kind of positioning and rationalizing that move forward. That uh, one of the speakers was David Graham was talking about QB Live, but he only mentioned QB Live once, and all the rest of it was about how you can meet with your clients and make chats with your clients and videos with your clients and all of that. But he was talking about QB Live, not the bookkeepers. I mean, those features are there for the bookkeepers. And so they were kind of, I see them as they're strategically taking that low end of the small business market and trying to serve them as well as part of this machine.
And that's the observation I had too. This gray area of like, you don't need employees anymore. You don't need a bookkeeper. You're just going to have an AI agent doing this stuff. But then if you ask a question, you stump the AI agent. In theory, they're going to now connect you to a pro advisor. And I don't know, like, is this I mean, obviously all the images and everything we saw was simulated, but I'm trying to, like, is that a real thing? Are they really going to like, it's too hard for this AI and just kick it over a pro advisor? Or is this just a way to train the AI? It just felt like,
well, how does that even work? How would that even work? Like,
well, so here's one of the things that I've been thinking about is, well, where does that leave us as pro advisors? That, you know, we are the millions of people that they've been courting over these years, and where does AI and QB Live leave us? And even AI's is still in its infancy, and QB Live is kind of sketchy in their expertise, and there's still going to be a role for us as pro advisors. One of the themes that they talked about over and over and over again was AI versus HI.
Human intelligence.
Human intelligence, yeah. And because the AI can't at this point still distinguish if that coffee receipt was owner draw, meeting, employee benefit, like, you know, what was the purpose of the meal, people are still needed. But as pro advisors, the best thing that we can do is really upskill ourselves for setups, cleanups. They talk about advisory, but the advisory is not going to be inside the software. So that's going to be kind of, well, we know that our business owners are still not going to understand it. And so that's where we come in that interpretation. But I really think that the cleanups and the consulting and the troubleshooting is the best direction that we can take.
That's really interesting pivot on this as AI, it's going to make mistakes. And there's probably, basically, for 25 years, small business owners messed up the QuickBooks. And pro advisors would have to go in and fix it. And that was a great way to grow your firm, grow your business. And now AI is going to mess up QuickBooks. And this gives you a chance to take those cleanup jobs.
So we still have job security. The job is just changing a little.
So I have a message from a listener about QBO AI agents that I would like to read. And Alicia, I'd love to get your take on this, David, as well, because this was one of my takeaways from the conference. And this is the message from our listener, is that they're not very happy with the quality of the work that these AI agents are doing. And David, you raised your hand there, and you can't turn it off. Like this is one thing that Intuit does with these features, is they roll out these like AI features, and you don't get to opt in.
Well, the thing with AI is that it still has to be trained. And so when I'm hearing from people who are using the banking feeds and they're like, well, the AI in the banking feed is making all these weird suggestions. Well, the banking feed has always had to learn from your company. It had to see how you're doing things in the past and learn how you operate to make its suggestions more accurate. And so we're kind of going back to ground zero on that. And now of course it's not going to make good recommendations because it's still artificial intelligence and it has to be trained. So
and it lacks context.
Use it, exactly, as you add context, it will become more accurate. You know, you have to give it one of everything. So, and that's not just 1 month of data. That's going to take you a quarter of data and probably a year of data until you've got one of everything in the system for it to process.
So here's the email from Christine. Okay. Good morning, Blake and David. I heard the episode this morning where you discussed the AI agent Intuit global rollout and asked for feedback from accounting professionals. And I can tell you that if I could switch from Intuit, I would without hesitation. I can't get over my anger and frustration with this forced rollout without input from accounting professionals that use the product. I have vented my displeasure to Intuit, and their stock response is always, quote, "We understand it takes some time to adapt to new software," unquote. No, the product, the rollout, the agents, the updates are wrong, causing errors, not efficient, and has caused me hours of headaches trying to troubleshoot and also fielding numerous calls from clients that have lost their ability to do their job. Why can't we opt out? Lose time. Myself and my team spend hours troubleshooting instead of strategic work, lead gen, client growth, design, etc. Increased risk. Mismatched or miscategorized transactions mean inaccurate job costing, incorrect margins, errors in reporting, which undermines my offering to clients or your own business. Reduced confidence. My clients, myself as the business owner, have lost trust in Intuit's accounting/reporting system, which undermines strategic decisions, e.g., pricing remodels, bundling memberships. Lose leverage. I've been counting on automation to provide insights, e.g., membership churn, job profitability. The system delivering less means I need to build manual workarounds, which increase costs and draws attention away from growth. And then she's got a list of 5 key issues that I'd like to share. Number 1, AI agent and automation failures. The AI assistant and so-called smart matching features are not functioning correctly. Transactions are being miscategorized, matching rules are inconsistent, and automation that previously worked flawlessly now introduces errors requiring manual review. This has increased workload rather than reduced it. 2, reporting instability. Many standard and custom reports no longer render correctly or reflect accurate data. Filters, memorized reports, and exports are either malfunctioning or producing incomplete data sets, compromising financial accuracy and client deliverables. 3, bank feed and matching errors. The new system routinely fails to match transactions that were previously recognized automatically. This has led to double entries, reconciliation discrepancies, and in several cases, incorrect financial statements. 4, system slowness and UI inefficiency. The updated interface is slower, less intuitive, and requires multiple extra clicks to complete basic tasks. The workflow improvements are, in reality, workflow disruptions. And finally, 5, forced global rollout without consent. The decision to impose this rollout globally without giving users the ability to defer or decline was deeply irresponsible. Accounting professionals and small business owners rely on QuickBooks Online for daily operations, compliance, and reporting, not as a testing ground for unproven interface experiments or unstable AI features. And that's from Christine, and I'm just going to give her first name because I'm not sure if she wants her whole name. Okay. No.
God,
so thank you, Christine.
I can speak to so many of those that it could take me about 2 hours to address a lot of those. But one of the first takeaways from that is that the AI, again, like I just said, still needs to be trained company by company by company in order to improve. And so it's not to expect it to
so
be.
Why don't I hire an employee and train my employee? I should just train an employee.
And it takes, it takes months to train an employee. It's going to take time to do it too. And yes, it means that we have some lost productivity, but the gains in the long run will pay off in that component of it. What was the other part of that?
Well, we had the automation failures, reporting, the bank feeds, UI inefficiency, and then the forced rollout.
Okay, so the reporting, they're painfully conscious of the places where the reporting has failed, and they're actually rolling out a bunch of improvements this month in November that's going to address a lot of those things, like the fact that you couldn't drill in on an AR report to get the next level reports and the auto refresh. So a lot of that is being addressed. And if you find a report that is not accurate, they have a canny board. They have a board where you can submit those so that they can fix the programming on it. So they are committed to fixing that. And, I remember meetings with Intuit 10 years ago where I was saying, well, like the software is always buggy and we lose productivity as we're troubleshooting the software instead of serving our clients. but they always beta test on us, and so that's always just kind of the way of it. They don't want to use the words beta test. I was told not to use those words beta test, but that's really what it all is minimal viable product. But they are listening now more than they've ever listened in the past, and they're developing more quickly than they ever did before. So if you have feedback and you're finding problems, this is the time to get those in there so that they can fix it.
Yeah, and the bank feeds, and this, I tweeted this out because I'm still kind of waiting. When do the agents start working in my QuickBooks? Every time I go to the bank feed screen, my pending just keeps going up. 31. The next day I tweeted it out. Now it's at 33. It just keeps going up. When do the agents turn on? When there's 100 missed unmatched items? Like, nobody's doing the work. And so the only way I got it to go down is I had to use human intelligence. I had to first go and fix the broken feed or connection from Expensify to sync the transactions. And then I had to go into the register and change all the transactions that Expensify synced, move them to the checking account because it just puts them into cash so I can actually match them up in the checking account bank feed. Like, but that's human intelligence. Like the agents aren't going to be able to do these types of things. They don't have the context. They're not going to problem solve.
Well, you're asking it to know what to do before you've trained it, and you're asking it to auto-enter all of those climbing. Accountants don't want it to auto-enter for you. They want to be able to at least double-check the data going in, so your complaint's a little off.
Intuit just spent $1 million on a conference, and I sat in the audience, and they're talking about how magical this is. You don't have to do the work. The agents are doing. Nobody said I need to train the agents. You're the only person saying this, Alicia. The marketing says it's just going to do it.
But here's the thing, even if you train the agent still has to have access to context about the transaction that is not in QuickBooks. It's in your email or on your calendar or in a document that's sitting on your desk. And I don't have an answer to that question of how do you give the agent the context it needs that a human would have. A human can also go and ask you about the transaction. Do these agents do that yet? Like, do you get like a message from the agent saying, "Hey, here's a transaction that I don't know what to do with, and tell me what to do with it"?
Expecting a brand new technology to be magic isn't fair to the bookkeeper or the technology. And that's why Intuit kind of kept surfacing HI, human intelligence. Our jobs are not going away. So to expect it to be magic and to solve it all for us when we're literally in the first year of the software and the first few months of the software is a lot of this is managing expectations that a lot of people, even just backing away from all of what we've been talking about and just talking about the fact that they changed the interface, that the code name for it is Fusion, but it's in the technical name is QuickBooks on the Intuit platform. And the logic behind it, I've been doing these workshops called QuickBooks Online before and after, and calling it the Great QBO Refresh. And actually, I have to re-record 75 classes in the new interface in order to keep up with the software. But what people are telling me is that when they hear me talk about like where the buttons are and where the logic goes, and they get that context of the why for it, then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. A lot of this is change management and attitude management, that part of the human intelligence is also developing us as people and learning where to look and why it is that way. And I've had almost universal, like after I give these before and after sessions, people are like, oh yeah, okay, Alicia, thanks, I get it, we're good, let's go.
But it's not reconciling in my brain. We have this entire world saying accountants are going to lose all their jobs because of AI. Intuit's telling us how great this AI is in their product. I have yet to have one transaction ever just get off my plate and handle itself in QuickBooks. Maybe one. I don't know. If it did it, I didn't notice it.
That's what rules are for. It never did that, and it's not going to do it now because that's not what the technology is designed to do. If you want it to auto-enter,
it's AI. It's supposed to. That's what they promise it's to do it. That's ridiculous.
You're misinterpreting it and calling it to the floor. That's just not fair.
All right, let's move on.
So I'm just going to post this on Twitter. Every day I'm going to post my bank feed number and what happened the day before, and we'll just see if it ever goes down to zero. If it ever gets there.
Not going to, because the software's not designed to do that. So that's just you trying to make a point.
The bank feed agent, they talk about a bank feed agent. All right.
They don't talk about doing it doing that.
All right. Let's talk about this Intuit Accountant Suite.
Hmm. Yeah.
So currently the situation is we have QuickBooks Online Accountant that's been around for ages, and it's going to get replaced with something new. Alicia, give us the overview.
Yeah, so just in the same way that we've gone from QuickBooks Classic with the black navigation bar to the new platform, they're doing the same thing with QBOA, and they freaked people out a little bit the way that they explained it from the stage of like, QBOA is going away. Well, no, they're just refreshing the interface just like they did before. And they're actually introducing paid tiers. They're introducing new features that you can choose to use if you want. And it totally reflects on like what you were saying earlier about the new the about the new features and the all-in-one platform, that QBOA is still going to be free, just like it has been with the feature sets that it has. The Pro Advisor Academy is being worked in. They've got these new dashboards where you can see what's happening in all your clients all at one time. But then what they're adding in is management across the clients. There's a new books review that looks suspiciously like our friends at Double, that it's got the close lists, and you go down and it allows you to see what's happening in your clients' files and manage it and fix it from inside QBOA, or this new, what they're calling it is Intuit Accountant Suite. So in IAS, not to be confused with IES, but in IAS, you can actually do client work on your client files without going into your client file. So that's one of the technologies that they're working on. And for the first year, it's going to be free because they have to develop it and design it and see if we like it and troubleshoot it and develop it. And then they gave it the end of 2026 is when they're formally sunsetting QBOA. And that's when some of these new features that they're developing will become paid features that you can choose to use or not.
And do we know what features will be paid or not, or what the pricing will be?
So they have a timeline. So they said in January of 2026, they'll start doing testing and feedback. In May of 2026, they plan to have announce the tiered requirements, which I guess that would probably tie to pricing of some type.
Yeah.
Then they'll retire, like Alicia said, retire QBOA December of 2026, January 2027, launch the new program.
Right.
So that's the march.
Yeah. So basically, there's going to be a free version, which is all the existing functionality that we're used to. That's still going to be free. So if you just want to use it like it is, no changes. Then there's two new SKUs, two new versions that they're introducing. One is called Core and one is called Accelerate. And the Core is going to have a customized home screen where you can flip it and the books close. And some of these things that are really cool about it is like you can pull up a dashboard of all of your client KPIs and pick which dashboard you want, like a P&L dashboard, where it will talk about your gross profit and your margin and your cost of goods and show you those KPIs along with the agents that they've already introduced for anomalies, so that if one of the numbers is unusual for that company, it will surface it and actually tell you which transactions are different. And that helps you identify, do you have bad data that was miscategorized, or do you have a trend in the company that you need to look at? But what's cool, it's all on one screen, so you can scan all your clients at once. Or you can change it to a balance sheet view, or you can change it to bank feeds and a reconciliation panel. And then, so that is really cool. And that's all, I think that's in the Core.
So I agree with you, Alicia. That's like interesting in theory, but I'm not sure if I would ever want or need something like that as a practice leader. I wonder who's asking for it, because here's why. Like, I'm just thinking back to, when I managed 200, 300 clients in my firm. None of them were ever all like closed at the same time, right? The books were always in various stages of close. And for some, we might be a few months behind because we only do it on a quarterly basis. Some we might be doing it every week. And so for me to see all my clients in one place with KPIs would be kind of meaningless, because if the books aren't all closed and up to date, it doesn't matter.
Right.
and also we would do the analysis when we exported the financials, not like at some other time. And so I always wonder when Intuit goes and builds something like this, who's asking for it? Who's actually using this? And then as they move up market with larger firms, like I would expect a larger firm to actually use something like this less because they're more likely to have clients on a variety of accounting systems and need something that is that plays nice with others.
Well, I think what they did is they looked at the big apps that are out there that are doing things that QuickBooks natively didn't do. We're talking Carbon, Double, Keeper,
which used to be Keeper,
Financial Sense, and all of the Canopy and all of the things that were managing your practice, and saying, well, if you had to go out to this external tool, let's save your ROI by building it into QBO at a lower price point than you're paying for those.
Right.
But QBO, like we were talking about the multifunction printer, QBO is never going to do all of it as well. And so I don't think anybody's going to leave Carbon or Canopy or Double to go to this tool. But for a small practice, and now we're back to the pro advisors, this is a step up without having to commit to something larger than what you need.
So see, that's the disconnect for me, is I see Intuit's high-level messaging being we're going up market, really, right? But up market, bigger firms don't need this. They already have practice management, and they're not going to abandon, like you said, what they have that's really robust.
But I think big firms do, Blake, but what the big firms don't have in general is cash practice management. A lot of the bigger firms are still like early in their cash journeys. And I think Intuit probably did market research because Intuit's high priority is the big firms. Intuit wants to get these big firms to cash practice. So I imagine they have lots of discussion with big firms, and the big firms don't have any of these solutions for their cash practice yet.
Right. So think about it this way. You're talking to a potential customer that is not a current user of any product in this space and asking them, what do you need? And then building that. But that's like asking an idiot what they need because they have no experience. They don't know what they need because they've never done this properly.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the features that they're building in is task management with checklists and SOPs. And you can, when you assign your team members to the things, the paid version, the Accelerate version, is actually going to have capacity management as well. So you can see how many tasks are assigned to different people and reallocate according to getting people in their percentage range.
But to build something like that, to build an actual practice management app that can do task management, that can do capacity planning, I mean, they're going to have to be able to do time tracking because there's all these firms that are still making people do time tracking. That is like that is a massive product to build. And to do it well, Intuit would have to invest an incredible amount of money and basically starting from scratch. So like, I just wonder about this strategically, how they can continue to invest in QuickBooks and also invest in building an entire practice management solution that they think is going to be robust enough for like top 400 firms to want to use.
Right. Yeah. It does seem like kind of a cross in market that the tools that they're building are technically really for the people coming up from the bottom, but they're kind of, as we've been talking about, leaving the people from the bottom to go to the top. So they're sandwiching in the middle with nothing in the middle.
I think,
go ahead, Blake.
Well, I was going to say last thing, and then I'll let you go, David. But I feel like this is the disconnect. This is the disconnect at Intuit Connect, which is they want to go up market, and so they are talking with practice leaders at big firms, but their current customers are small firms and independent pro advisors, and that is why the vibe was not right. It's because they don't feel heard. That's my take. Yeah. Just walking around and talking to people.
Yeah. David, go ahead.
I was saying, so I'm glad you brought up the firm capacity planning. So I imagine smaller firms aren't going to be using that feature as much. And I think they built this for bigger firms because some part of it, as they were demoing it, were like, if you're going to be short capacity, you can hire an Intuit expert.
Yes.
Like, is Intuit going to be like the middleman? Is this basically hiring independent pro advisors? And now, basically, is Intuit going to take the Intuit Pro Advisors, it's almost like a QuickBooks Live model, and treat you, the independent QuickBooks Pro Advisors, as labor for these bigger market firms?
You actually nailed it, because in their demo and in the keynote, that's one of the things that they actually said is if you're hitting capacity, you're going to see an ad up there for, hey, assign this client to QuickBooks Live, their $50 service where they can ask any little questions that they have. So I really do think that they are trying to build their own QBO labor force, and that's where it does get a little more competitive with the pro advisors. And what they are saying is, hey, experienced pro advisors, come work for QB Live. And considering all of the staffing issues that we're having, I would way, way rather have US based bookkeepers go work for QB Live than see them outsourcing to people overseas. I'm personally not a fan of offshoring because I believe in intellectual capital as part of our economy in this country. And so if people are, so I can see how that can be positioned as a win-win by developing QuickBooks Live, but oh my God, they need definitely better training and more experience.
So as Intuit moves up market, like I said, I think they're leaving their flank exposed perhaps to competitors at the lower end. And you know who that could include? You're going to love this, David. Quicken. Quicken has added features for self-employed workers. I spotted this in CPA Practice Advisor. Can you imagine if Quicken...
Full
circle, right? If Quicken came back and started to eat QuickBooks lunch. So Intuit spun off Quicken. I don't know, when was that? They sold it to private equity, right?
It's been a while now.
Years ago, right? So
long enough that I don't remember. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah. Well, so, that Quicken, which is now independent, might be coming for the self-employed market. 27.6 million Americans work as full-time independent professionals, and I don't think they need all these features that QuickBooks is adding with Intuit Enterprise Suite. And QuickBooks has gotten pretty expensive, relatively. So what has Quicken added? They have now added estimates. Those are available now. You can create, send, and manage estimates with a client portal for approvals and change requests. Sales receipts are coming soon, so you can document and provide proof of work for non-invoice payments received at the time of service. They've added mileage tracking. That's available now. That's in-app. And they've got a quarterly tax planner and reminders available now as well. So it's called Quicken Business and Personal Unified Solution for solopreneurs, freelancers, and small business owners. I'm wondering if they'll start an accountant program.
So this is interesting because there's all these new AI startups, but they're kind of going for the enterprise space. I don't think they're going to come in and take that bottom of the QuickBooks market away. But you're right,
I don't know about that, David.
Apps like Monarch Money is a personal finance app who they took a big raise and they plan on building business features in Monarch Money. So that the entry level business accounting market, I think these personal finance apps are going to go after. I just don't see these big AI plays because they're expensive. Puzzle, everybody's like, oh, Puzzle's going to solve all this. Puzzle's $300 a month if you want to have like an equivalent set of features of QuickBooks. So it's not
Digits is 100 a month. So I don't know what QuickBooks is these days for your typical small business owner. Alicia, do you like offhand?
We're paying $125.
Depending on the version, but you're looking around 50 on the low end to 275 in that range. Plus, for example, is 125 right now.
So Digits could come in and offer like a tier for $50 a month and give people AI powered, cash basis bookkeeping. And go for it, Alicia. You're laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing because the grand irony here is it's the people who are like, I don't want all this AI stuff in my QuickBooks. I just want a general ledger. And the alternatives are all AI forward. So like, where are you going to go? You kind of have to get on board with the AI components of it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not an AI issue. It's not the problem is not AI. It's just the implementation of it. Like I've said on the show over and over again, developers should not replace rules with AI because AI is statistical and probabilistic and is not 100%. And the best use of it is to automate the creation of rules. So
Right.
go through my GL and look at what I've done in the past and suggest creating hundreds of rules that will auto categorize transactions 100% accurately every time. And then I can go and tweak the settings. Like, I don't know why Intuit didn't do that. Like, they should know better.
Ramp kind of did it, right? I think with some of the ramp rules, the AI will
The
take
guy
your
creates the rules.
rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because David Weiseneck is over there and he's an actual accountant who knows how to advise product leaders. I just feel like, I mean, this is just my hot take, but I feel like the Intuit product people do not talk to enough real accountants. And they could do more.
Yeah, mostly they're talking to well, it used to be talking to the small business owners. Now all their talk is to the CAS firms. I mean, to be fair, I spent most of my time at Connect in the Intuit innovation circle. I went to a couple workshops, but that's where I spent all of my time. And that 42 pages of notes, full on 30 of them are literally lists of what has been just released, what they are working on, and a lot of them were really cool. I have to say, a lot of the features were problem solving and really neat uses of the technology. But I'd say, well, when is this going to be released? And the answer was coming soon, coming soon. And when pressed, some of them are November. Some of them are end of 2025. Some of them are first quarter. Some of them are going to be developed over time, and it's going to take a little while to get there. But I really actually did respect a lot of the tweaks that they're making to the software and the functionality.
HK Geek in the live stream says, isn't that what QBO rules does in response to the discussion we're having about AI?
Does or did?
Well,
That's the question.
HK says if you code something the same 3 times in a row, they suggest creating a rule for it.
They actually, I think they took away the rule suggestions, but you can manually create the rule. They were getting people who were making bad rules.
Why did they take away
We went
the rule
backwards.
suggestions?
Exactly.
Because people were making bad rules.
So what you should be able to do is, like, this is how I would design it, right? Is if QuickBooks notices like a trend in how you've previously handled transactions or how you're doing it now, it suggests to create like an AI rule. And the AI rule would basically be like a custom, like a prompt that says, when a transaction comes in that looks like this, take the following actions. And you could actually like expose the prompt to the user so that they can customize it. The problem right now is that all of that is obfuscated behind the scenes. That's my understanding of it. So you can't actually, the only way you can fix it is to keep correcting it, but there's no way to guarantee that it learns exactly what you want it to do. And again, the lack of context is the problem. So if they really want to make these AI agents work, they've got to connect it to your email so that you can say, like, when this transaction comes in, go search for the latest invoice related to this vendor, and then, add in the details and, all that sort of thing. I don't know, whatever it is that you would ask a human to do.
Well, I do know that it's on their radar to also take a look at the industry that you select on your setup and that you have in your settings, and take a look at what's common for that vendor in your industry and add that in there. And so that's where the AI does come into play. And, but again, they still have to program it. So let's be patient while it dials in.
This is an interesting technical hurdle for Intuit. And this is based on my interview with the Digit CEO, Jeff Seibert. And he said that, like, the way the Digits database is set up, they can look across all the transactions, across all the vendors, across every entity. And the way that I believe that, Intuit, their database works with QuickBooks, is that it's very much more siloed, right? That it's not as easy for them to look across all of the vendors and all of the companies and see how they've been coded across every entity. So that's a big disadvantage when your database for QuickBooks Online is, how many decades old at this point. It may be difficult to apply AI learning across the whole QuickBooks world.
Yeah, I can see
By the way, going back to this discussion about Quicken, Do you know how much Quicken is per month? This is crazy. I just went to the pricing. Quicken Business and Personal is $8 a month.
Well, if your needs are super simple, then hey, you've got,
Yeah.
got an alternative.
I mean, if you just want to use it as like a GL, right? If you just want to use it to code your transactions and do your taxes, right? This is like, I don't know, this is like a pet peeve of mine, is that I feel like a lot of accounting firms over-engineer solutions for our clients. Like, we need to look at, what do they actually need? What do they actually need? And those, tens of millions of small businesses that are mostly independent people and freelancers, all that they really need is like a P&L, cash basis, and a tax return.
Once a year.
Once a year. And there are so many successful firms that are doing that, but there's also a lot of firms that are doing that on QuickBooks and like paying for a lot of stuff they don't need.
But that's where Ledger comes in, and Simple Start, which is now being rebranded as QuickBooks Lite. If all you need is a glorified checkbook, those options are there. You don't need all the bells and whistles.
How much is I'm just curious, how much do you know offhand how much those are these days?
I could look it up real quick.
All right. While you do that.
And I've argued that too, Blake. There's all this focus on finishing your close, finish your close, finish your close. I don't think there's one small business owner, probably a QuickBooks user, a small business QuickBooks user, that cares about the close being done every month.
Yeah.
You need the close when you have to get a loan and do your taxes. That's it.
Yeah. So Simple Start is right now at $38 a month, which is, yeah. I mean, I remember when Plus was $40 a month.
Right. So, it's like, this is the problem I have, is that Intuit is going after maybe 100,000 businesses that are of the size that could use Intuit Enterprise Suite or QuickBooks Advanced. Probably 100,000. There are tens of millions of small businesses that don't need that. Mm-hmm. And I've sort of, like, when I talk to accountants about, who do you want to serve and what kind of market do you want to enter, I like to point out that like, my firm did very, very well serving the low end of the market. And it's because we streamlined and we automated, and we were able to offer a really great service at a few $100s a month to start. And I don't see how we could do that if we're paying that much for software. You need lightweight solutions. And so, like, sometimes it's better not to try and compete with everybody in the same small pool, and go to that bigger one that's underserved and figure out how to use technology to serve them better and more affordably. And, we just totally were able to, like, beat any accounting firm, any CPA firm on pricing. And we could offer better service at the same time. So, that's the trick, is don't do what everyone else is doing. And I feel like that's what Intuit is doing by going up market.
Well, somebody in the comments just put the pricing snapshot up. The QBO is $38 a month. Puzzle is $25 a month, and Digits base plan is $65 a month. So QBO is actually like right in the middle center for Simple Start. We're just talking about the basic functionality, but that's about where those other AI platforms are as well.
So I wanted to highlight a little bit of news from Digits, since I mentioned it. I don't think it's a coincidence that this came out during Intuit Connect. Digits has launched a free API that lets you plug directly into their AI-powered accounting system. No partner fees, no usage limits, and no marketplace lock-ins. That might be a dig directly at Intuit for now charging for access to their API. And that could be a really great thing for this whole marketplace of apps that Intuit is now squeezing out or reducing, because I like as a firm owner, being able to build my own ERP and not have to take what is handed to me and do everything in an all-in-one system. I don't like putting all my eggs in one basket.
And that's why I think Intuit has an opportunity here to launch a vibe coding platform. Because if you think about it, Alicia, you have 25 small business clients. They all have these unique little problems that there's no third-party apps are ever going to solve. But if Intuit could give a vibe coding platform that it can interact with the QuickBooks data very easily, and you could create a custom solution, that's how Intuit wins enterprise long term. You have all these people with these custom solutions, and they'll never leave the pro advisor who built it for them either.
Well, Alex Balazs in his keynote address talked about Intuit Intelligence, and one of the things he did actually say is that you're going to be able to use vibe coding to program your own dashboard widgets. And so you will be able to, and this is, he didn't give a when on this, but you will be able to take something specific for a company that you want and create a widget for the dashboard that gives that specific information. So that they are actually working on that.
And that was, yeah. So if you have an AI chat bot, right, you're going to talk to it. What were my weekly sales last week? It would give it to you. And you'd be like, would you like to put this on your dashboard? And would create a widget and give you the widget. So yeah, there's some, but you're not going to solve problems with that, right? All you're going to do is it's a fancier, it's just a reporting widget. It's reporting at the end of the day, not actual business process solving.
Well, agreed. And personally, I think that where they're leaning in with all of the dashboards and raising insights about the data, I think is a really cool value added that has never been there. That up until now, accounting and bookkeeping has been taking data, getting the data in, and then humanly looking at it and doing your mental comparisons to find the intelligence that you need in order to grow your business. And that's specifically where this is actually a huge benefit, is all of the AI doing that analysis and surfacing that information from you. And Intuit is really, really, really leaning in on the goal of cash flow. That's their number one, is designing the AI to decrease your time to get paid and decrease your AR, increase your all of the strategies that you need to find new customers, get paid faster. That is their primary focus. And the dashboards, I think, are actually really cool in the fact that they're customizable, especially when you go up to advanced, because you can fully design what you need. All of the clients that I've been bringing over from desktop who are moving into QBO right now, especially the ones in the last month or two with the new interface, they've been blown away at how amazing QuickBooks is. And that's something that we kind of, the three of us have been in this industry for 20 years or more. And so we're complaining about the evolution of it. But the people who are coming in fresh are blown out of the water with being able to actually understand what's happening in their company. Like delight. Like I've had people going, oh my God, Alicia, why did I wait so long? And so it's a very different perspective from people coming in new versus people who have watched this whole process evolve.
I think that's a great way to summarize our discussion today. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us and for doing this crossover episode of the Accounting Podcast and the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants Podcast. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to everyone who listened. Don't forget, you can get free continuing professional education for joining us today or listening to this podcast on the feed or watching it on YouTube. Go to earmark.app in your web browser or download the free Earmark app on the App Store. Create a free account. Find the Accounting Podcast channel. Take a 5-question quiz about this episode, and you'll get a CPE certificate, all for free. And if you want to support our work, consider subscribing to get unlimited CPE every year and subscriber-only courses. All right. That's all I got. See you around here next week, everyone.
All right, everybody. See you in the next one.